Big Nick on the drum, hands workshop. Starting with my right hand. The drum pad's just below the camera here. You can see this is the back hook here. And then as I go forward, you disappear. We can see the hand real clearly. And then I'll get into the left later. I'll switch over to this. That's good. Okay. So, drum technique is built around the assumption that the right hand is stronger. So for left-handed people, you have to go find a left-handed drummer to get their philosophy on it. Some people who are left-handed will play with this technique. Some people who are left-handed have adaptive techniques. So that disclaimer out of the way. I'm going to just play some. We can watch how my right hand works. Okay, so first of all, let's look at what problems I'm having in the right hand. First thing anyone goes to is the pinky shooting out. So, if we look at my fingers underneath, if I turn it the right way, this is my normal position. This is a relaxed position. So I got the pinch here. It's the lightest possible touch. If I let off just a couple millimeters, boom, it starts to drop. And these are where I'm getting my power. And I can switch the fulcrum to here, or I can switch it back here. But I mean, at that point, it's a full farmer's grip, right? We have all three contacts on the stick, all three fingers pushing in towards the back, and we get our farmer's grip that way. Not this, not a death grip, but with these fingers. And the pinky, let's talk about the pinky. The reality is your pinky is slave to your ring finger. If I hold these, they'll move together, right? It's so difficult to move the pinky by itself. It has its own set of muscles. Very small, fine muscles. I can feel them here. See, your finger muscles are rooted here in your wrist. They go all the way back. And good practice, you'll really build up this guy. And it's having a good headroom here is what makes the right hand the strong hand. It's harder to develop that over here. I've started to get mine. It's really defined. And then you got all these finger muscles underneath. Here's the index. Here's the middle finger. Big flex. Now I'm trying to do the ring finger by itself, and you can see it pumping, but if I do, see there's that ring finger, pinky finger. Now I got a deformity in this hand with my pinky finger. Try and get the stick up and you can see there. It wants to shoot way out, and it's on a weird crooked angle. That's because I broke it. So I've had to adapt my left hand pinky like the whole time I've been playing. So I broke that my junior year of high school and messed up our winter percussion season, and then we got world champion the next season. So mission accomplished. But and back from high school, I was playing matched grip because I was on the tenor drums. And for tenor drums, you got to be able to match up so you can move them around all five of the drums. As of about a week or two ago, started going back to traditional grip. I'm trying to adapt my hand to it, which is what I've been avoiding for so long. And I'm finding that if I can overcome some challenges, there's a much more natural fulcrum there, because I can use my thumb. And the way I'm approaching it, here's a disclaimer about traditional grip, is that everyone's traditional grip has adapted to their own hand. There's a lot of different things you can do, especially with a really strong, well-developed hand, but the whole idea of the traditional grip was to get young drummers playing better, faster, by leveraging the fact that the left hand is adapted differently from the right. So if you're ambidextrous, that's a whole nother level of you probably have to specially adapt both hands, right? The ambidextrous guy could probably go through both or all patterns of it. Anyway, here's how my traditional grip is starting to shape up. See if I can go faster. I'm exerting myself a lot, and which is ironically exactly what I'm trying to avoid. So the difference with a matched grip versus a traditional grip is in where you get your leverage and your tension. So most people think about their drum technique as, using the fingers to move the stick. And it looks like that's what I'm doing sometimes. There's my real finger technique. And I'm trying to get away from that because that actually requires a lot more, it's a lot more overwrought. You're moving the fingers in, out, in, out, in, out. And I tend to use it more just as a clutch. If I take the fingers out completely, just the fulcrum, you see it moves free. So you get it at home, and then you open it up, and you strike it. And it'll just go wherever it wants. Free energy. And that's the number one thing we're trying to harness is free energy. The idea is to have a good stroke where 99% of that free energy comes straight up and back to you. Because then, after you harness it from the drum into the stick, then you can harness it from the stick into your fingers and back into the drum. And that's the whole idea with molar stroke. Which is what I'm sort of doing now. And obviously that's a very exaggerated, but honestly that's about where I am with molar stroke in my left hand. I'm finding this just limited. My right hand is a little better at letting the bounce happen. Okay, there's a lot of tension in my jaw, and there's a spike of tension, like that part I have down perfect. You know, my fingers, it kind of looks like, see, I can't get them on camera, this. It looks like I'm moving the fingers, but it's because I'm catching them in the stick as the stick comes to me, so it goes. So I'm doing, yeah, all the energy comes from my wrist. And so I'm trying to get to the idea with the traditional grip now. So you have the same thing. You have the fulcrum here, and you can sort of control You can sort of control the rate of that bounce just by using the tension in the fulcrum. And so in theory, you can actually just have a set fulcrum there, because I can actually hold it pinched like that, and that's very low energy. So for me, it's just about keeping these guys out of the freaking way. I just do it all with my thumb. You will see, though, that there's a lot of guys who definitely don't do it that way. These are very much how they're in control. They got But I find that the more that I try to do that, it's more like I'm not even pressing the stick with this finger. I'm using it to kind of absorb tension from the thumb. But the thumb is where all the tension's actually being applied. You know, there's something sort of magic about it, because it's a whole physics thing, and it's related to, in a muscular thing, it's related to playing bass, Carol Kay technique, where if your thumb starts to hurt because of you death gripping the pick, and it's sudden, it happens real bad to beginning and intermediate bass players playing pick on gigs, especially punk rock gigs, and she had this trick, and when I heard about it, I thought it was ridiculous. But it absolutely works. Cut that pinky out. And if you cut the pinky out, all the tension that develops in your thumb doing that death grip, it'll transfer out to the pinky. And so you just move the tension, and then suddenly you play a whole gig. This thing will be sturdy as a baseball bat. So I think there's something to that, and I'm not using this to physically manipulate the stick. I'm using it to biochemically manipulate the musculature in my hand. I'm still really bad at it. Like I said, I'm just starting to develop this. I do want to talk about this exercise, though. I use this exercise for developing molar technique. I'm trying to get it in the molar and get a better shot. Okay, this is mirrored, so right hand, left hand. This is called burgers, or I call them burgers, cheeseburgers. So it goes, skeleton is 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, flam, 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 and accent, 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 accent. And then the next, The next bit of that is keeping the accents defined, which is the hardest part. So, yeah, it's designed to go in levels like that. The skeleton, then the flams, then the accents. And then diving into the accents. Because you got downstroke, up downstroke. And it's a whole different level of hand control to be able to do a down tap. So, and it's a cool and distinctive riff that if you then take it to the drum set and start orchestrating it, find your own way to orchestrate across things, you know, that's which is not something that I've done yet. So if you are watching this, you might have a chance to beat me out there. And it's flexible too. It can go with the straight time or with the swing time. So let's talk about why we use traditional versus matched, or really why we use matched rather than using traditional. Match seems to make more sense to people playing drum set especially, and I get that. And I think the general attitude is matched grip is a lot better for playing primitively on the drum set, doing fills that go where traditional comes from is in the Civil War, they had field drummers who had to carry a drum that was slung under their armpit. And so they had to play down into it like this. And it's the people who developed those techniques and really heightened the art of playing the drum in that style, who then brought that tradition over to playing snare drum in concerts and then in jazz bands. So you had the snare drum, but it was tilted off like this. And it was so people could play in that Civil War style. And now, that's largely gone away except for students of the drums who were keeping that tradition alive. But I do think that there's practical applications for it. It really helps with flow. Because the number one thing it addresses is the reality that our left hand is different from our right hand, especially cognitively. And the left hand this traditional grip can really just to make things play more naturally. With matched grip, we kind of understand the hands as opposing forces. But with a traditional grip, we can understand them as part of a same wave. For playing jazz style and doing an improvised comp, it just makes the left hand speak so naturally. And for rock music, sometimes that's the thing that you want. For funk music, sometimes that's a thing that you want. Also, if you want to give funk that authentic soul feel, traditional grip is just a great way of taking it back to the 60s. That's just, it's part of that vibe. Plus, it'll give you the same kind of quiet rim shot vibe. that they had back then. It doesn't work the same way with match grip. With match grip, you are just pushing it into the drum. But with the traditional grip, you can really just right there on that fucking rim. So it can really help with flow, getting around the drum set in a smooth, connected, relaxed way. It can really help with setting a certain vibe. How does it affect the volume? Traditional grip really does have an effect on volume that needs to be compensated for. A big part of why we tip the drum sideways when we play traditional grip is so we can get the maximum potential for the stick travel, because this is the natural resting state for traditional grip, and that's the whole point. If I put my hand out like I'm going to shake hands with you, there's the grip. Now it looks like it's flat there. Look how much lower it goes when I open it up. It's pretty good. But it starts to really fly off axis when I go for a large hit. And doing a large hit, you got to approach it totally different. I am locking it in my thumb. I'm relying on the pliability of my hand to just let it spring motion. So I'm not actually moving it the same way I would with this. Then again, that's another part of the Moeller technique, is to open up that potential for that much motion. So that's another thing, is that you'll have this big open space to the left side of the drummer, and that's so that Moeller technique can really get going. It's so the elbow can get pumping. You really got to get physical with it that way. With a match grip, you get the same potential, but just by flipping your wrist up. So there's a very real reason why match grip works better for metal. And this is why. Because if I want to play full bore, match grip has it all. Has it right there. If I go to traditional, it's there, but it's a lot more radical extension. It's because to adapt to traditional, you actually have to kind of deform this pad in your hand. I've been working on that the last few days. Just having it in my hand, doing this with it, rolling that muscle out. It hurts. It hurts when I'm playing like that. You know, there's no pain like that with holding a match grip. There's no adaptation that has to take place. So that's another reason that traditional grip tends to die away. It actually demands that you deform your hand, that you adapt your musculature to it. So, in that way, it leaves a mark on every drummer who plays that way and marks them for life as a drummer. Something to think about. Alright, this is Big Nick on the drum. Thanks for watching. You know, like and subscribe, whatever. Do whatever it is that you do. Whatever it is. Just hang in there, kitty. Just hang in there, kitty. And Beck, and all of you, but specifically, not you, Osama.